Hello and welcome to Falcon Focus Podcast, another edition live here outside the Falcons Nest Student Union. As every Tuesday we're live on Facebook Live, archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can also download the audio thanks to Podbean. You can find that link as well at cuwfalcons.com. My name is Matt Menzl, and as we do every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10, we recap the week that was and preview the week that will be in Falcon athletics. And today we'll be joined by a couple of guests as we talk women's tennis with junior Emma Sievers. They have a big one coming up on Saturday against Edgewood. We talk football as well with senior wide receiver Josh Sanders. The football team off to a 3-1 start. Their best start through 4 games since their undefeated regular season of 2006. But first, let's take a look at the week that was in Falcon athletics. Another busy week across the board. And we begin with women's soccer. They had a 3-match homestand, which began on Wednesday, knocking off Edgewood by the final score of 4-0. Falcons able to score a couple of goals per half. Nicole Shashelsik, along with Shannon Carroll, Isabel Downs, and Alexandra Tomic, each scoring goals in that victory. That would see the Falcons finish plus 14 in shots at 24-10. On Saturday, the team picked up its 5th consecutive win, knocking off Aurora by a 3-1 score to stay perfect in conference play. Up 1-0 before the game was tied at 1, came out, scored a couple of times in the second half. Again, Nicole Shashelsik finding the back of the net. Alexandra Tomic able to score for a 3rd consecutive game, 4th time in conference play. And then Allison McElwee also finishing as the Falcons picked up the W, outshooting Aurora 19-3. On Sunday, the Falcons fell against UW Lacrosse. Lacrosse receiving votes in the top 25. 3-0 the final, allowing goals in the 21st, 30th, along with the 59th minutes. Outshot in that game 20-7. The women's soccer team now sits with 6 victories and 6 defeats overall. As mentioned, still perfect in conference play at 4-0 with a couple of road matches this week, which includes a showdown on Saturday at Dominican. Dominican predicted to finish first in the Northern Athletics Collegiate Conference. In men's soccer on Wednesday, a 1-1 draw at Edgewood in double overtime. Jumping in front in the 16th minute, Simon De Silva able to put the Falcons in front before Edgewood scored the equalizer in the 66th minute. Shots in that game were in favor of Concordia at 20-19, and in the 2 overtimes combined, each team with 4 shots apiece. And then Saturday, a 1-0 setback at the hands of Aurora, the first home loss of the year for the Falcons, who allowed a goal to the Spartans in the 42nd minute, all despite Nate Yeager coming through with 8 saves. Men's soccer team right now sits with 4 victories, 5 defeats, and 1 tie. 1-2-1 in conference play. They resume their home schedule coming up on Wednesday. Wisconsin Lutheran in town for a 4 o'clock kickoff. In women's volleyball, a busy week as the volleyball team was in action on Wednesday. They won 3-1 against Concordia Chicago, knocking off the Cougars for a 2nd time already this season. Megan Mayer came through with 12 kills and 17 digs in a double-double performance. Kelsey Kleba with 7 block assists. On Friday, the Falcons were back home, able to sweep El Verno, doing so 25-14, 25-21, and 25-12, extending their overall win streak to 8, their conference win streak to 29 consecutive. 16 players saw action against the Inferno, with Annie Marie Ozelka, a freshman, one of those players who saw playing time and contributed 4 digs and a couple of service aces. On Saturday, a couple of losses for the volleyball team. In non-conference play, they went to Waukesha, lost to Carroll 3-1, and then they lost to 17th-ranked UW Eau Claire 3-0. Now in the matchup against Carroll, there are 4 Falcons with 10-plus kills, including strong showings from Sophia Collins. She came through with 11 of those kills, and then also note that Holly Anderson added 10 kills. The volleyball team sits right now with 11 victories and 4 defeats. They're 5-0 in conference play. In women's tennis, we'll talk more tennis in just a little bit. Due to weather, they were postponed from Tuesday to Wednesday, able to take down Marion 9-0, and then Saturday beat both Wisconsin Lutheran and El Verno, both by 9-0 finals. 36 consecutive conference wins now for the women's tennis team, who sits 9-0 overall, 8-0 in conference play with a couple of regular season matchups to go. And when you look this year in conference play, it's one thing to be 8-0, yet 7 of those matchups have been 9-0 Falcon results. In men's tennis on Friday and Saturday, they were at the ITA Regional Championships. You can find the results posted at cuwfalcons.com. ACHA men's club hockey back in action this past weekend, and on Friday lost to DePaul 5-4 in overtime, and then lost 9-7 on Saturday also to the Blue Demons. In men's cross country, they're back in action for the first time in 20 days. They finished 16th out of 29 at the UW Eau Claire Blue Gold Invite. Craig Reese, he finished 40th with a time of 26 minutes, 2.5 seconds. That's tops among all NAC runners. Women's cross country also in action. They finished 21st out of 25 at that same UW Eau Claire Blue Gold Invite. Note that Mackenzie Dorth, in her first race of the season, paced the Falcons with a time of 24 minutes, 38.2 seconds. Field hockey, a couple of non-conference matchups this past weekend. On Saturday, lost at Christopher Newport, 8-0 the final, and on Sunday, knocked off Randolph-Macon by a 2-1 score, down 1-0 at halftime, and then Megan McPike emerged in the second half, scoring twice. She now has scored 12 times on the year. Shots were well in favor of Randolph-Macon, but the Falcons able to make the most of their few opportunities. The shot differential was at 30-9. Field hockey now sits with 5 victories and 3 defeats, 1-1 in conference play. In women's golf, they finished in 4th out of 7. That was at the NAC tournament. Amy Carpenter shot .279. That for the 3 rounds. Kayla Hain, our guest last week, shot .283. Both finished 9th and 10th respectively, both earning all-conference accolades. In men's golf, they finished on Sunday 7th out of 10 at the Benedictine Invitational. And Sunday and Monday, some of the golfers were involved in the MSOE Invitational. At the MSOE Invitational, finished in 6th out of 16. Nate Benjamin finished tied for 14th with a score of 151 for the 2 rounds. In football, coming off a bye week, their conference opener, they won a shootout at Benedictine by the final score of 48-40, one of their conference opener for the first time since 2015, and only trailed once all game, tied on 2 other occasions, and the offense able to rack up 622 yards, the 4th most in the head coach Greg Etter era. Quarterback Aaron Nixon coming through. He threw for 410 of those yards, 4 touchdowns, had a single interception. On the ground, Josh Turner, he was able to run 475 yards. And our guest, Josh Sanders, in the air, able to come through with 223 receiving yards. He also had a couple of scores in the victory, and they get ready for a big one. The Cheese Bowl coming up, Military Day, Family Weekend, all that and more coming up at Thomasini Stadium this Saturday against the Lakeland University Muskies. And finally, the women's triathlon. They were at the Tri the Illini on Sunday. Complete race results can be found at cuwfalcons.com. Yeah, when we come back here on the podcast, we refocus on women's tennis. Another great season being put together, and we'll be joined by Emma Sievers, junior on the team. She's playing at number 4 singles. That and more as we continue here. Glad to have you along for the Falcon Focus Podcast.
The Student Personnel Administration in Higher Education, or SPAHI program at Concordia University is designed for people who want to work in the university setting in any department. So if you're interested in working in academic advising, campus activities, residence life, admissions, financial aid, this program is really designed for anyone interested in those areas. The mission of Concordia is to help students develop in mind, body, and spirit, and that was really evident in the program. I really enjoyed that I could be in class one night and take what I learned and apply it on the job the very next day. My name is Amber Schiesel, and I am a SPAHI graduate.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast as we talk women's tennis with junior Emma Sievers. Kind enough to join us here this morning. And you look at the women's tennis team, and they have won now 3 consecutive regular season and tournament championships. And you've been part of 2 of those championship teams. And so I want to get your opinion. Why has this team year after year been so successful?
Well, we work really hard. Every single practice, we're always super focused and we're working hard and we're always pushing each other, so I think that's a big part of it. I also think our team is very close-knit and we really care about each other and we want each other to do well, so there's really good leadership on our team. And of course, coach is great and he's always pushing us to be the best tennis players we can be, so I think it's just a combination of those things and just constantly working hard to be better every single day, and that's why our team always comes out really strong.
You talk about being close-knit. Has the dynamic changed a little bit? Because I know it's a different looking roster. You still have a couple of seniors, a few juniors, but I mean, overall, it's a younger squad.
Yeah. So originally, that was difficult to think about, that we were losing 3 of our best players and super great leaders, but we've had 6 freshmen come on our team, And they are awesome and amazing and great players and fit in with our team well. So I just think it's been an adjustment, but it's been a good adjustment. We miss our old teammates and what they brought to our team, but we also have 6 fresh new faces that bring their own special qualities, so I think that's been great. It's been a great year. Yeah.
You talk about being a transition, yet you look at paper and this team continues to win. 9-0, 8-0 right now in conference play, and the winning's nice, but outside of the winning, how do you feel this season's been going for you guys?
I think it's been going really well. We had a really close match with IIT, so that was fun and exciting, and we have a big match coming up this weekend, but I think we've been playing really well. I think our new freshmen have been really stepping up to the plate and playing really well, and then I also think our returners and our seniors have been stepping up as leaders and doing a great job at that, so I think it's been a great season so far. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the Illinois Tech matchup because that was my next question, because that has been the closest and most competitive match so far. That was back on September 8th, and the Falcons were actually down 2-1 after doubles, ended up prevailing 5-4. How difficult, was that match, and do you think that was, did that tell you a lot about this team and what you guys are capable of?
Yeah, so down to the end, it was really, really close. We had a couple matches that went to tiebreakers in the third set, so that was nerve-wracking, but I also knew the strength of our team and that we'd pull through in the end, and that was definitely earlier in the season when we were still developing, and I think we've used what we learned from that match to improve and have gotten a lot better. It was definitely close, but I think that we've grown a lot since then also. Yeah.
Last couple of years, you've primarily been number 5 singles. Now you're number 4 singles. Is that a big change? Is that a big adjustment?
Honestly, it has been. Yeah, because I've played 6 sometimes too.
Okay.
And so I've gone 6, 5, and then at the end of the season, last season I was 4. And it was an adjustment, but it was a good adjustment and a little bit more competitive, and I do like that. So it's been a good adjustment, but definitely it's more competitive at 4.
And of course, you also play doubles along with singles, and I always, I find that to be challenging. Maybe it's not, having not played tennis on a regular competitive basis, but in your opinion, is it a big adjustment to go from playing with a partner, a teammate, to then all of a sudden you're by yourself?
I actually like playing doubles first. I think it kind of gets me in the groove of playing. Before my freshman year, I didn't play doubles, and I kind of just sat and watched and cheered, which is also great. It's good to be a supporter, but it gets you warmed up, and it also gets you focused, and it's a little bit of an adjustment going from doubles to singles, because obviously you don't have as much space to hit, and I don't play quite as aggressive in singles as I do in doubles, but I think it's a good warm-up, and it gets you mentally ready for your singles match, because you have to be focused right away from the get-go with doubles.
Obviously, you enjoy playing both, but do you prefer maybe one or the other?
I would say I'm a stronger singles player. I'm a lot better at singles, but as I've gone throughout my college career, I really have grown to love doubles too. I like the team aspect and getting to converse with someone while you're playing and not being alone. So there's pros and cons to both. I do like singles better, but I've grown to love doubles a lot.
Does it take time usually when you have a doubles partner to gel, to mesh, to kind of understand one's strengths, weakness, where one may be on the court at all times?
Absolutely. I've had a couple different doubles partners this year. I don't know if you've noticed there's been a little bit of change in the lineup. And it definitely is interesting because it's not necessarily your personalities that have to match. It's your style of play. There's just a bunch of different factors that have to go together to make a good doubles team. And I don't know, it's not necessarily, I've clicked with a couple different players, and it's just kind of figuring out what the other person's good at, what you're good at, how you can help each other when maybe you're in a tense situation. So there's a lot of different factors that go into playing doubles, and it's an adjustment, but it's also really fun at the same time.
Love hearing from athletes and kind of how they got involved in their sports. I'll ask you the same thing that we've asked many of our other guests in tennis. First of all, has that always been your sport of choice?
It's interesting. So in middle school, I really loved basketball. Basketball was my thing. But then all of a sudden, I started to just like tennis all of a sudden. And then when I was in high school, I mainly focused on tennis. I played a little bit of basketball, but tennis was the main thing I enjoyed. And I think that's really because it was a family sport. My brother plays tennis. My dad was a college tennis player also. And that was kind of our family bonding moments. We'd play on Sundays. And then as I did that more, I just enjoyed it more. So
do you remember your first memory playing tennis?
I do. I was in rec tennis when I was probably 6 years old, and I had a Hello Kitty tennis shoes and like the pink Serena Venus racket that you get from Walmart. That's what I remember, and I just remember I was so excited when my dad and I went to hit, and we hit it back and forth 4 times. I was just like, oh my gosh, 4 times, that's so great. So that's like my first memory.
So is there a professional tennis athlete? You mentioned Serena Venus Williams,
Yeah.
but do you have a professional tennis athlete that you kind of look up to or try to model after, or like just watching?
Absolutely. Roger Federer is definitely my go-to tennis guy to watch, and mainly I really like how he conducts himself on the court, because it's really easy to get frustrated when you're playing by yourself and it's just you and you're the only person you have to be mad at a lot of times when you're playing singles. And I always think if I get like frustrated in a point, like what would Roger Federer do? Because he's always just so like kind and calm and conducts himself in a really respectful manner, and I think that's so important when you're playing sports, to just always be you and the best person you can be, even if you're in those frustrating moments. And he's so good. He's such a good player, so obviously I respect him for that, but I really like the way he like conducts himself. Yeah.
You went to Slinger High School, and we had a guest last week, Christian Turpak, on the men's soccer side, who went to Hartford, and he said, at least from a high school soccer standpoint, their big rival was Slinger. Now, how about on the tennis side? Is it the same thing? Is it Hartford Slinger, or is there a different opponent that just brought the best out of the Owls in tennis?
I would say Hartford wasn't necessarily our rivals in tennis. It was more West Bend East, because they always had a really, really strong lineup. Their number one singles player for a couple years went to state and won state, so they were really, really competitive. So I would say they were more our rivals, but definitely Hartford brought some good tennis too. But yeah.
How about at Concordia? Who do you consider the Falcons' biggest rival in tennis?
Edgewood.
And that's a big one coming up Saturday, isn't it?
It's going to be a huge match. It's always been Edgewood. Yep, we always meet up with them in the conference championship, and they're always very close matches, and we've come out on top, so hopefully we'll do that on Saturday. But that's definitely our biggest rival. Yep.
Finally, off the court, you've had a great deal of success inside the classroom, and your major, according to the bio on the website, psychology, social work.
Yep.
How did that become interest to you?
I really care a lot about people, and that's why I think this tennis team has been so great, because I just care so much about my teammates, and we've been so close. But psychology allows me, my goal is to work with kids and help kids, and I really think like the foundation of becoming a successful person starts when you're younger. And so if I'm able to reach kids at a young age and just for them to know that someone is out there looking out for them and being able to be that person for them, that was huge for me. So that's how I got into psychology, and I just thought that was like the best way to use my skills, because I really just love talking to people and getting to know them, and I thought that psychology was the best way to use like the skills God's given me to help people in the future. So that's how I got into psych, and so I'm applying for grad school right now. So
Very nice. A lot going on,
but it's good stuff. Yeah.
Well, to read more about women's tennis, a great feature story on CWFalcons.com, appearing right now, talking about Bailey Kelly, Ashley Solberg, a couple of the seniors. Opportunity to leave a legacy with 4 straight conference championships. Again, big matches coming up against Edgewood and then at Lakeland to wrap up the regular season. Emma, thanks for your time. Best of luck these next couple of weekends.
Yeah, thank you so much.
When we come back on the Falcon Focus podcast, we switch gears to football. We talk with wide receiver Josh Sanders. Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast. And now switching gears to football and talking with senior wide receiver Josh Sanders from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm sure you get that a lot. How do you end up at Concordia?
Well, in my last years in Arizona, I went to school with a few guys that decided to come out here and play. and they talked so well about the school and actually enjoyed it. So I was like, sure, why not shoot it and go for it. The first time I was actually in Wisconsin was the first day of camp. Like I never came to tour, anything like that. Never been in Wisconsin before, never been on my own before. So I decided to do that and just went with it, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Football especially, is weather an adjustment? You know, I know it rains in Arizona, obviously it's doing so right now as we speak, but you look at the fall here in Wisconsin and it seems to get colder, wetter, you name it as the season goes on. Is that an adjustment?
It absolutely is. I know that last year in the season when it started getting really cold, it affected me personally. I never really had to deal with playing in the snow yet so far, but I played in sleet, so that's not fun. That's not fun at all. But
So at Concordia, your freshman and sophomore years, you played 3 games each. Finally, you know, you really got that opportunity last year, saw quite a bit of playing time. Was that a journey? Was that kind of a tough adjustment, you know, to kind of wait your turn to get that opportunity?
It really was. It really was. Freshman year, I was really excited to get in and get my shot. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long. My sophomore year, I didn't get as many targets as I wanted to, but each year I kept on improving. Each year I kept on sticking with it, and now it's like grown to fruition.
Yeah, look at you now. TD receptions in 7 consecutive games, 7 receiving touches already just this season alone. And quarterback Aaron Nixon is the guy that you work closely with. Now, he went down with injury last year, and so for the most part, Dalton Poole was the primary QB. Is that an adjustment, you know, going from one quarterback to the next?
Absolutely. They have completely different styles in playing, different throwing styles. So adjusting to how he played and how I need to adjust myself was pretty big, yes.
So how would you describe your relationship on the field right now with quarterback Aaron Nixon, and what makes him such an effective QB?
He is a boot player. He likes to scramble and run, and he's actually able to make those moves very well. He's a great athlete overall, and so him able to do that gives us more opportunities to catch the ball.
So now with your role increasing from one year to the next, have your goals changed a lot? And if so, what were some of your goals coming into this season individually?
My goals this year, I didn't really come in with that many goals. I just wanted to do my job, catch every ball, and just keep on playing to the best of my ability. And we've been doing really well so far. We went 2-8 last season, so pretty much the goal is to do better than that.
Well, I mentioned during the first segment, the team off to its best start since 2006, which is a Hall of Fame team that went undefeated during the course of the regular season. Team sits 3-1. They've won 2 straight, 1-0 in conference play. Let's go kind of game by game with you. Week 1, Finlandia, 31-3 win. You had 5 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Your thoughts on your performance in Week 1?
It was good. It was a good start. It was not as many receptions as I would have liked, but we kept on playing. The thing I love about this team right now compared to the other teams since I've been here is that we keep on fighting. And like Alma, Augsburg, Benedictine last week, we keep on fighting. Even if we're not doing well, even if we make a mistake, we keep on pushing.
How about that Augsburg game? Yes, it was a 27-24 loss, but again, you talked about it. This team's ability to play comeback down 20-0. You guys made it very interesting. That's a game you had 15 catches, 189 yards, and a couple of touchdowns.
It's a great game. It was a bummer that we lost it, but we like I said, we kept on fighting and we made it last to the very end.
You look at Elma, another step for this young team to take. You guys won the game 26-15, and it seemed like anytime they scored, you guys had an answer. You had a monster first quarter. You had 9 catches, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns for the game. Big non-conference win, wasn't it?
What, sorry?
That's a big non-conference win, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was the first time I believe we beat Michigan school in about 6 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Bye week after that, what happened during the bye week? What was the focus for this team?
Benedictine, first conference game. We're all conference for the rest of the season right now. We wanted to start off with a win.
And that you did a wild shootout, 48-40. You had 7 catches, 223 yards, couple of TDs. First win over Benedictine since 2013. How wild of a game was that to play in?
Oh my gosh. Every time we would score, it was just an explosion on the sideline. Everyone was heads up, and even when we didn't, we went a 3-and-out. We got back. We were ready to go, ready to get back on the field and score again. It was.
And it's remarkable because there's no question on paper, this is a very young team. You have 61 freshmen, 34 sophomores going into the year, which makes 95 of the 115 of underclass status. So, in your opinion, how have the newcomers fit in, and do you like the progress they've been making?
Oh, absolutely. They've stepped up. Right now we have 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen are freshmen, and they're playing phenomenally right now. They're giving Nixon time to throw the ball, and if he needs to scramble, they're still staying in the game and actually making blocks and giving us a chance to actually make plays, which is why I have such high stats. It's all because of them. It's all leading forward.
In your opinion, 6 games left in the regular season, 4 of those will be at Tomasini Stadium. If this team is to continue to win, what needs to happen?
We need to keep our energy high, pretty much. The difference between this season and last season was that when something bad would happen, we would actually stay engaged in the game. We wouldn't hang our heads. We wouldn't be all sad. We would be ready to go back out and ready to make more plays.
Do you sense that this team is just gaining more and more confidence with every passing game?
Absolutely.
Yes. A big one coming up this week, the Cheese Bowl against the Lakeland Muskies, 1 p.m. Lakeland's won at least a share of the last 4 consecutive conference championships. They're 1-3, 1-0 in conference. They whooped up on Concordia Chicago 61-28. I guess I'll wrap it up by asking you, how do you beat the Muskies? What are keys to victory in that matchup?
Keys to victory, got to make our plays. No drop balls, no fumbles. Got to keep the ball in the offensive hand and just keep on pushing it.
And get this guy the ball. Josh,
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Fans want to see you at Tomasini Stadium, 1 o'clock, Military Day, Cheese Bowl, Family Weekend, Falcons Muskies, Saturday here in Mequon. When we come back on the Falcon Focus Podcast, we'll take a look at what else is going on this week in Falcon Athletics. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us for the Falcon Focus Podcast.
God never intended for us to live a comfortable life. He created us to go outside our comfort zones, to use our gifts and talents in the service of others, to live a you-first life in a me-first world. At Concordia University, it's our mission to prepare you for that path, so that you stand apart from the crowd and live a life that's actually uncommon. Concordia University, live uncommon.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast. We wrap things up by taking a look at the week that will be in Falcon Athletics. And, of course, we also thank our guests, both Emma Sievers on the women's tennis side and Josh Sanders for football, for joining us here this morning. And, of course, you can watch this entire podcast archived. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean. All the links and more later on at cwfalcons.com. But taking a look at what's going on this week. Well, tonight, on this Tuesday, women's volleyball is in action at Rockford. They will serve up set 1 of the best of 5 at 7 p.m. On Wednesday, it's men's soccer against Wisconsin Lutheran at 4 p.m. They had a wild game last year. You talk about wild. 5-4 Falcons winning in overtime, down 4-1 with less than 20 minutes left in regulation. Zach Jaritza had the golden goal. That game, 4 p.m. tomorrow at Fitting Field. If you cannot be there in person, we'll the game broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network. Women's soccer is at Wisconsin Lutheran tomorrow night. They will kick things off in Milwaukee at 7 p.m. Friday, it's men's cross country. They will be at Benedictine for the Eagle Invite. They get underway at 4 p.m. Women's cross country also at the Benedictine Eagle Invite. They get underway at 4:45. Women's volleyball will be home on Friday at 7 o'clock against Illinois Tech, newest member of the conference. Well, the game broadcast for you. If you cannot be in the John Book Fieldhouse in person, 7 o'clock. Things get started. And then ACHA men's ice hockey against Augustana. They drop the puck at 8:30. And again, note this weekend is family weekend, so a lot of home activities taking place here on the Mequon campus. And on Saturday, women's tennis, we mentioned a big one, could be the deciding factor for the conference championship against Edgewood. They will get things started at 10 a.m. Women's volleyball is back home on Saturday as well against Dominican at 12 p.m. Women's soccer, men's soccer, they got big ones too that could ultimately determine who wins the regular season conference championships. They will head down to River Forest, Illinois to take on Dominican. Women's soccer at 12 noon. Men's soccer kicks off at 2:45. Football, we mentioned the big one, the Military Day Cheese Bowl matchup against Lakeland. Have not beaten the Muskies, looking to squish the first time since 2013. Kickoff at Tomasini Stadium at 1 o'clock, and again, the game broadcast on the Fan if you cannot be here in Mequon. And ACHA men's ice hockey wraps up their weekend series against Augustana. They drop the puck at 3 p.m. On Sunday in men's golf, the NAC Championship. That concludes Monday, and then women's triathlon will be at the Naptown Triathlon in Brownsburg, Indiana. Field hockey will travel to Maryland Heights, Missouri. They will take on Rhodes. Note that that's going to be a non-conference matchup. They will face Rhodes a little bit later on in conference play on the 20th of October. Field hockey gets underway at 12 o'clock. The program record, by the way, for wins in a season is 6. That was during their inaugural season of 2016. Team already is at 5 wins going into Sunday's matchup. Again, for complete recaps of those happenings, stats, box scores, previews, and more, check out CWFalcons.com. Thanks to our entire crew behind the scenes. Matt Menzl saying so long, have yourself a great week, and we'll join you again next Tuesday live from 9:30 to 10 for the Falcon Focus Podcast.